to the Scott and James show. You alright, Scott?
Not too bad, thanks. How are you?
I'm alright. It's a bit of a funny feeling, this. So, tonight, me and Scott are editing one of my pictures. Interesting. So, I thought it was quite an interesting challenge this week. It's a bit different to what we've normally done, isn't it?
It is. Did you feel a bit nervous sending your
Yeah. Oddly enough, I
files
do. It's
over?
like, it's almost like I don't know, like I'm lending you my drone and saying, please be careful. I don't know. It's a bit of
Which drone's this?
this one. um, so how did you find it then?
um, it was all right. It was all right. Um, Truth be told, obviously, I think I'd have preferred a raw file for that one
Yeah.
because, as it turned out, what happened was James sent two files over for me to edit. The one that I chose to edit and then run out of time, so it didn't do the second one. The one that I actually edited was the JPEG file rather than the other one. But that's just how it goes,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Do you know what? Well, I edited the same one as you, so mine wasn't a raw file. And I've kind of just had that much on the last couple of days that um, at least I didn't have my YouTube page playing in the background, so it wasn't echoing in the background.
Yeah. Well, we've started off all right.
I've learnt my lesson there.
Let's see how it goes.
So what
But
we've
no,
done
like,
then is,
it was good photo.
yeah. So what we've done is we had decided this week we're going to edit one or two of my pictures, and then next week we're going to choose two of Scott's for us both to edit.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that both of us are aware of is that there's not a right or wrong way to it, is there? You do it in your style, and I do it in my
Very
style.
much so, and it was quite interesting actually because with lockdown and coronavirus and everything, I've not really done much actual editing.
Mm.
So there's some new things in there that I've not really seen and not had a chance to play around with a bit, which was quite good. But I'm a bit like, I think it's like when I've shot weddings with you before, and then you kind of hand the memory cards over at the end of the day, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, I hope they're all right. I hope they're all right.
yeah.
But no, it was good.
Okay. So shall we jump into the first one that I've done, which is uh, the one you've also edited this one, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this first one.
Okay, so let's have a look at this. Three, two,
Let's go for
one.
it.
So this first picture that I'm going to edit is a wedding that I did in Santorini, and it's Natalie and Daryl, and it's a bit different to the weddings that I've done before, based on where it is and the beach, and I've chosen to edit this one because it's something which isn't often that I do to do an overseas wedding. So I'm going to take you through the process of how I've edited it. Now, the edit that I'm going to do um, is specific for this video. It's not how I would normally do it. Me and Scott have set a challenge um, to edit each other's pictures. This week it's me, next week it's Scott. So let's dive in. Okay, so this is the picture, and quite obviously there's things which need to be done to this. The first thing I'm going to do is try and use the rule of thirds, and basically what that means is where these lines intersect here on these 4 points is generally the most pleasing, so you would focus your attention to where this is. So what I'm looking to do here is try and get this cross as close to Natalie and Daryl's face as possible, which means that the eye generally should be drawn to them first of all, as the main focus. So then what I'm going to look to do is I'm just going to look to get this edited how I roughly want it before I take it into Photoshop. So I'm just playing about with a couple of the things. Now if you've noticed here, we've just got the veil now, so there's nobody holding the veil, which obviously can't remain in the picture anyway. And on the right hand side here, there's various sliders where I'm able to adjust the temperature. So I'm just going to stop here just for a moment. So I've taken this into Photoshop, and as you can see I've added a background sky to it. And the way I've done this is, which you might have seen on previous videos that I've done, is that I attach the scene which I want over the whole picture and adjust it accordingly, and then I use a blending mode to allow me to allow it to look realistic rather than just a cloud slapped on top of it. And then what I've done is I've gradually used a brush to brush away the parts where it doesn't need to be. We're back in Lightroom now, and this is what I've got. So the final stage of this is to really look at getting this edited in a style which I want. And as you can see here, quite a lot of movements that I do look really nice, but I'm playing about with the midtones, the shadows, the highlights. And now I'm looking to add a vignette, which I don't want it to look too fake, but I want it to look realistic to a degree. I mean, obviously this is way too much, so all I'm doing now is just dialing it back, just to try and get the finish which I want to. It's probably a bit too much. I think I definitely prefer the white vignette on this one, and I think I'm pretty much there with that. That looks, to me, pretty good. So all I'm doing now is just editing the lower half of this picture by using this, what's it called? Can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, but the aim of what I'm looking to do now is, whilst I want to bring out the highlights in the dress, I don't want them to be as harsh as they were before, so I kind of want them to kind of merge into each other and give kind of a soft look to this. And so that was the original. where I am now, and I'm quite pleased with that. I mean, obviously, this picture editing has taken a long time to do. It's taken me 45 minutes to do this picture, and I think I've got kind of a nice look to this now, with the lighting on Natalie and Daryl, with the blurred out clouds in the background, and also with the soft touch to the wedding dress. So let's have a good look at this. So that was that. I told you that I'd had quite a lot on this week, and when I was looking at that, I was cringing at some of my editing because
Yeah, wait till you see mine.
I meant to, there's things that I meant to cover off with that, and just didn't get round to doing it. But I hope it didn't distract too much against where we'd started and what we'd ended up with. And I obviously changed the sky on it. I wanted to do, and to be honest with you, I don't know if it looks better without the clouds. It possibly does, but for the purposes of what we're doing, I kind of wanted to do it a little bit different to the original.
I thought about changing sky.
Oh, did you?
I don't know how long my actual video is. I think it's maybe about 12 minutes, but I think the whole edit from start to finish took me about maybe 20 minutes.
Yep.
And it was one of those where I think if I'd have had more time, then there are a couple of other little bits that I'd have liked to have done just to kind of finish it off. Like as soon as I saw yours, I was thinking I didn't go back in and add my vignette on.
Oh, yeah.
Which I would normally do towards the end. I think I got quite giddy that I'd nearly finished and I could go have my tea. So I kind of forgot to do that. But I think normally if you wouldn't do something like this on every wedding photo either, would you?
No.
You'd do your basic headings on your set, and then you have a few of your kind of hero images where you'd make that little bit of extra kind of time and care on. Those are the ones that are probably going to end up on the wall or something.
Yeah, I think to alter. I mean, what I did there with the clouds is completely fine. I don't think that's a big problem. But if you go to the length of pretty much altering the picture that you're taking in the first place, isn't great, as long as it's maybe the odd one where, like you say, you want to kind of show something different. I wanted to ask you, because I'm with my editing relapse tonight, when I was doing the it's not a radial, what's the thing I was using at the bottom of the
it was like a gradient filter.
That's it, gradient.
Because you've got the round. I used the radial one, which is the round one in mine, and you used the normal kind of horizontal one that you can spin around for doing the with that darkening the sky down or whatever.
I kind of committed to talking about it, and as I was talking about it, I was thinking, what was it called? And the screen was that small because I'd edited it first, and then I did the talk over. And when I was explaining, I was trying to find out on the small screen that I was looking at what it was called. Gradient filter, is that what it is?
I'm sure it is. Yeah. It's one of those, isn't it? It's like I said, I think because I've not used it properly for that long, apart from maybe pulling up some other photos or sticking to the things that are known for what we've been doing for as challenges and stuff.
Yeah.
To actually kind of go into Photoshop and some of the stuff that's in there now, I was like, oh, what do I do? What do I do with this? This looks different. So it'll be good to do some actual shooting at some point, so I can do some proper editing again.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Shall we have a little look and see what I did with mine,
Yeah,
or see what I did with my edit of yours?
yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay. In three, two, one. Check this out.
Okay, so here's the first image that James has sent through. It's a JPEG image, so it won't have as much flexibility as normal. So what I like to do is just have a quick check on the auto settings just to see what it does. Sometimes gives me a bit of a good starting point. Then reset that. Then go lens corrections. Always do that first before I start making any other adjustments, so that it doesn't throw everything else out. Just increasing the exposure and contrast a little bit. Not quite sure whether it was sunrise or sunset, this image. It's quite heavy on the blues. Again, because it's a JPEG, I don't have as fine control over the white balance, so I'm just have a play around and see if I can get it looking a little bit more like it's a bit warmer, a bit healthier. I think that's about right. Just straighten up the horizons a little bit, maybe. I think that's about right. Okay. Again, just a bit more vibrance and saturation in those colours. A bit of tone curve here. This is just a kind of stylistic thing to add a bit of a film kind of look to it by crushing those blacks a little bit. This is a new section to Lightroom. I've not really played around with this that much, but it's very much like colour grading on a video. So just adding a bit of warmth again to the mid-tones and the highlights. Tiny little bit of blue in the shadows, but not much on this. It's looking a little pinky there at the moment, I think, but that could be my eyes getting adjusted. I think they're about theirs. Yeah, I think about theirs okay. You can just lift those shadows slightly, and then I think what I want to do is just over. Sorry, I don't know the couple's name. Over guy's face, just to raise the kind of shadows and put a bit more of a spotlight on his face, just because he's looking down. It's creating a bit of shadow, so just raise the just raise that a little bit. Not so much that you can probably notice when we're done, hopefully. Yeah, I think around there should be good. A little bit of clarity, which is a bit more kind of local contrast. I was hoping the dehaze might cut through a bit of the mist in the background, but I'm not sure. I don't know if we'll keep that. I'll just see if I can do anything with these colours. See if I can maybe make them a bit redder without having to do it in Photoshop. I much prefer to do everything in Lightroom if I can. Not sure I like this. Go back to where we were. Just boost that exposure a little bit more. I think we're going to go into Photoshop now and see if we can remove the assistant holding the veil. See what we can do with that. I don't tend to use Photoshop a great deal. And I know that there are some new masking tools for things such as this within Photoshop, so it'd be interesting to see what James has done, as I know he uses it quite a bit, but I've never used these new masking tools, so let's see what we can do, see what it looks like. So when I'm working in Photoshop, first thing I always do is create a duplicate layer, so I'm not working on the original. Even more important with something like a JPEG, which is every time you kind of edit it and change it, you're going to lose some quality. Oops, I think didn't quite get everything there. Just do that again. If this was going to be a final edit, then I'd probably use the Wacom pen tablet and get it a bit finer. But I'm hoping by the time I've done and the size that this image is, that it's not really going to have that much of an impact unless you kind of zoom in really close. I'm hoping that you won't be able to kind of notice. So let's have a play around with these new tools. Probably loads of people could tell me in the comments that I'm doing it wrong, and that there's better ways to do it. So always happy to learn, especially with something like this that I've not used before. Let's see what this does. Oh, wrong way around. Just undo that. I'm just going to see if I can paint in a bit closer, but I think because I've done the duplicate layer, what I might do is fine tune it afterwards. Just use this as the rough mask. Oh, there you go, magic, vanished. Okay, there's a little bit of a line down there. Let's just fine tune that a little bit. Just using my a layer mask and brush tool set to 60 opacity, and just paint over the kind of line between where Photoshop has kind of cloned and the original image, just to make it a bit smoother so that it's not obvious that something's been cloned out. Again, just changing the opacity of the background just so that I can see where the actual assistant is. It should be fairly straightforward up until we get where the hand is. Again, I could maybe clone some of this other area here from the veil and try and put it over the top, but we're literally talking a few kind of just tiny little bit of fingers on the end there, so it might be okay by the time we've done. Let's have a look. Okay, there's a bit there. Just try and bring some of the veil back in whilst getting rid of the fingers. Again, if I was doing this for a deliverable image, I'd spend a lot longer kind of zooming in and fine tuning it. Okay, it doesn't look too bad. It's kind of floating in mid-air. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, okay. Let's just try and clean this a little bit up again, just to make it the kind of transition a bit softer. So that's the kind of before and after the Photoshop edit. I'm just going to crop it in a little bit tighter, just to that edge of that veil, maybe about here. And then I'm going to take it across into Color Effects Pro and just sprinkle a little bit of the Color Effects Pro magic on there. Let's get rid of that. It's just adding a bit of a subtle glow and a bit more warmth to the couple, and just add a control point here. fix it to them. There we go. Yeah, I think around there. Just again, subtle bit of contrast. Just makes a little bit of difference. Again, just brightening it up, but trying to lower those highlights a bit because the dress is starting to look a bit blown out against everything else. So I'm just going to kind of reduce that strength down, and again, just warmed it up slightly. Before and after. Try not to lose too much kind of detail in the dress. There's a lot of different filters in here. In fact, there's this Film Effects Faded. There's a whole actual kind of Film Effects Pro, which can add vintage film effects and things to it, but I think that's a bit over the top for this image, so I'm going to leave it there, I think. So you can see the original shot here, and this is the final image. So I'll just get rid of that one. Delete it. See you later. Bye. Yeah. Delete. Yeah, so that's your original, and this is the final image. What do you think? Leave comments below, and back to me and James.
There was a few comments you made during that, which was I was thinking about quite a bit, and it was when you was doing the masking out, and you said you don't know whether you're doing it right, and it's surprising how many different techniques that you have available on things like Photoshop and Lightroom, which are completely different. I mean, we both got the same effect from removing her on the picture, but I know I didn't show my Lightroom edit on that one, but you know, they're both effective, aren't they? It's
I think if I just need to get up to speed with refining the mask a little bit, because the way that I've always kind of done it before is just you kind of used to just be able to do the selection, right click and content aware fill, and it pretty much do the whole thing for you.
Yeah.
Wasn't always that accurate, so you maybe had to try it a couple of times to get it right. This seems a lot more refined and a lot more accurate. It's just that I had no idea what we're doing. But yeah, I think when you look back at it on there, I was noticing myself, I was looking it back, and I was making a lot of little changes, and you can't really see them. It doesn't really come across on the video, but when you're actually looking at it on your monitor, you can see the little changes. And that then leads to quite a big difference between the kind of original image and the end one. But when you're doing it stage by stage, it's all very subtle.
Yeah. What was that program you used? Was it Color Pro or something?
Color Effects Pro, yeah. It started, the one that used to, I think Google used to own it, and then it kind of got bought by somebody else and went free for a little bit, and then they brought out an updated version of it. I don't use it loads, but there's certain, we'll call them recipes in there, but it's like certain presets that I've kind of made myself over years that I use on weddings or on gigs that I do like to put on a few of them. And you could probably do everything that you can do in Lightroom. It's just that that's a lot quicker.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it was interesting. It was a little bit, like I said at the beginning, a little bit peculiar of the fact that you're editing one of the pictures that I took. Do you know what I mean? And it's like I'm sat here watching it and thinking, I wonder what his plans are. And I'm glad in a way that you didn't leave the veil to be floating around, because it never intended to do that. The intention
Yeah.
was always to crop it, because unless you've got an even longer veil, which, to be honest with you, it unfortunately didn't come across, but Natalie, when I was before the wedding, a couple of months before the wedding, she was gonna go for the world record of the longest veil. And if you've been to Santorini, there's the steps where the donkeys go up. Have you heard of that? Have you ever seen it?
I've never been. I've seen loads of pictures of like the actual buildings and stuff, but that's about it.
Yeah, she was. It was going to be kind of set there, um, but anyway, I thought it was a really nice dress, and I I think cropping it out of picture is better than leaving it floating, because otherwise it had needed to go in different directions if it was gonna just be floating there.
Yeah,
Um,
I cropped it very close to where the kind of fingers were. Um, Thinking about it, I could have done a bit of a closer crop on it all. But like when you said about replacing the sky, I quite liked that you could see kind of the island and the mountains and
yeah,
things in the background.
that's
Um,
yeah. I mean,
what
that's
time
why
of
I
day
was
were it
in
shot
two
then?
minds
Were
really
it a
about
day
it.
or morning or night?
What's that?
Was it shot at
Oh,
morning
it was
or
evening.
what?
Yeah, it
Was
was
it
evening.
early evening?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I agree with you on that, with the decision to put the clouds in, and whilst I was doing it, it crossed my mind as well, and just for the purposes of making it different, I added those in. But I kind of liked the mist effect that it had.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest with you, I even put in, which I then obviously took out. There was some hot air balloons in the background, but it kind of didn't feel. It kind of didn't suit
Right.
the mood I was going for. I could have stuck anything in there, really. Just gone to town. But yeah, I thought it was good effort, that.
So yeah.
It's a different edit, and
Do you know, I
it's
find it's interesting because sometimes when you're shooting, especially if it's something like that, you've got one kind of, I say one eye, but kind of part of your mind is thinking about what you're already going to do with it
yeah,
when you get it home to edit, because you know that you've got a lot of potential there.
yeah,
So obviously coming to it completely fresh and just seeing the picture without any idea what you were thinking at the time or where you were planning to take it was quite good. Enjoyed
yeah.
it.
So the second one that I did then was a little bit different, in respect that I had to think about how I was going to make it different, because I like it was done at the old barn, and I actually like the area where we took the picture. And it's really hard to try and think of, for the purposes of this, to do something different. And I was fighting one of the tools, which you'll see in here in a minute. But we'll have a look at this.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. So this is Debbie and Matt, and they got married at the old barn in Esholt, and this is kind of just a corner of the place where I chose to take a picture, because there's some nice light coming through. But there's some changes I want to make to this one. So first of all, what I'm doing here is I'm just cropping this, just so that a lot of the picture isn't taken up by empty space at the top. And I'm in Photoshop now, and you might have seen this on previous videos. I'm looking to reduce the redness in Debbie's arms, and just to smoothen out the skin in a way. I mean, there isn't a lot that really needed doing to it in the first place, but this is just showing the contrast between the original and the edited. And I did a tutorial on this, And basically what it's doing is it's only going to adjust the parts which I want to alter. The rest of the picture will remain the same. So what I'm going to look to do now is, whilst there's not a lot in the background, I want to focus the attention on Debbie. So what I'm doing here is I'm outlining Debbie, and I'm going to blur out the background, just so it's not as distracting with the brick wall, the shadows, and whatever else is going on in the background. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create some false light coming through the window, and this is achieved by using an overlay. So what you do with the overlay is you piece it on. In fact, I need to move this to the top. At the moment this looks ridiculous. 2 reasons. First of all, I've not used a blending mode and it's in the wrong place, so I'm now just moving this to the top, and then by changing the blending mode to screen, it then gives the effect of light coming through, and that's probably a bit too much really. So I'm just going to bring down the opacity on this just so that it's not as obvious. So the next part I'm looking to do is add something into the window, because as you can see in the window, not that you can see a lot, but it's not as pleasing to the eye as seeing something like this. So what I'm going to try and do with this one, which is quite tricky, is to use a perspective on this one. So obviously as the window's going in a certain direction, I can't just paste this on as it is, so I'm looking to transform this and try and piece it into the window. Now it's a bit niggly because it's quite an awkward angle, but you can see roughly what I'm looking to achieve here at this point. So I think probably the best thing to do is at the moment to change the blending mode so I can see behind and see where I'm moving things. So now it's turned see-through, so I can not only see the picture of the field, I can also see what's behind it and where I'm looking to place it. So it's taking shape a little bit now. As I mentioned, it's a really niggly thing, this, and there's a lot of adjusting to try and make sure it looks as realistic as possible, really. So I've got it roughly where I want it to, but as you can see here and here, it's overlapping onto the window frame. So I'm just going to gently rub through these. Next thing I want to do is just to try and make this a little bit more realistic, is I want to add a blur to it. So obviously based on where the field is, I don't want it to be in focus as much as it is. So I'm going to use a Gaussian blur to just try and make it a little bit more out of focus. Going to zoom in here just to try and tidy up a few of the bits which need to be erased, just which are overlapping onto the window. It's quite time consuming, but I don't really want the picture overlapping onto the window frame. So if you look at the bottom window here, you can still see the pavement outside. So I want to try and continue with the grass. So I'm just using a different picture here of grass, and all I've done is just edited it and tried to keep a similar blending mode to what I've used myself there. So the final task really is what I did with Natalie and Daryl's picture, is just really get this in the style which I think is appropriate for the editing that I've done. So let's have a look at the before and after, and that is it. That was hard work, that.
What is that then?
Yeah, that was hard work, and it was once I'd committed to doing the grass, I found it hard because I don't know if it's because I knew it was fake. I don't know if it exactly worked or not, and that isn't something that I always do. The compositions like that.
Yeah, I tell you what. Like, obviously, I saw the photo that you sent me through, and I saw the final photo. What, about 15 minutes before we went live?
Yeah.
I didn't know that you'd replaced the outside.
Oh, really?
So obviously, it didn't stand out that much because I didn't notice.
Yeah.
At all.
Oh,
and I think it's one of those. I think we've said before, haven't we, that chances are you'd even send it through to them and they'd probably not even notice. But you notice because you've done it.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of things which you notice on pictures, whether good or bad, and it's a lot of it's because you spend so much time looking at each individual part of the picture and trying to get it right. So obviously you're going to recognise changes and that type of thing. But I thought it was quite a challenging picture there. I mean, Debbie saved me because she had a nice pause at the window, but trying to make something other than what was there, um, I thought was quite tricky.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have, just thinking about it now, I don't know if I'd have gone as far. I'd have maybe cropped in a bit tighter to save me all that
Yeah,
that
but, yeah.
perspective work, but it looks really good.
But I think the difference between me and you is that we've kind of established that you're quite technical with some of the things, whereas I look at it and I'm thinking, well, if I crop it in tighter, I'm limiting my options to kind of do something creative with it because
Yeah,
that was my thought because Debbie is obviously the focal point on there. But for something like this challenge, I'm just scratching my head a bit. But that perspective tool, oh, have you used that one? You're moving one
yeah, I've
part
used
and then the
just
other's flipping out somewhere else.
yeah, yeah, and depending on whether you drag it at one of the points or whether you drag it on the line, it does slightly different things, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I've used that when I've been doing. I know it's going back to one of the other episodes, but with the reflections,
Oh yeah,
to drag the reflections around a bit.
yeah.
But yeah. So for next week,
Hmm.
do I pick one wedding image for you to edit, and then do I give you a go at one of the gig ones,
I
or
was going to suggest
what do you
that
think?
because
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be wedding themed. I think it'd probably be good
No.
if we do something which you have done a lot of with, and I
Yeah.
haven't. Um,
It'd be quite different.
yeah, that'd be good. That a wedding one and one from your gigs because
Yeah.
the lighting's tricky on that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
good.
we might spend quite a bit of time in the hue saturation and luminance areas,
Yeah,
or you could just go black and white.
yeah, good
That
idea.
solves it, doesn't it? But
Yeah,
yeah, I'll have to have a dig through and see what I can find.
yeah, brilliant. So, hey, we've actually overshot quite a bit tonight.
It's been a long one, eh?
Yeah, it has. I found it hard to actually reduce those down further than I did. I mean, I sped them up. That last one
I did
probably,
the
yeah, that last one probably took me about an hour to do.
right, because there's
Um,
quite a bit of time where I was sat there kind of going, hmm, right, okay, I quite like it, right, what next? And then when you're editing it back, you can see all big gaps of kind of silence. So yeah, I sped quite a few of those sections up.
yeah. So it's your go next week then.
Might go next week. Yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully, I'll have more of
Yeah,
an idea what I'm doing by then.
yeah. Go easy.
Yeah. So as usual,
Yeah,
like and subscribe and comment if you would like to see us do any more of these kind of editing videos, or if you've got anything in terms of like the challenges that we've been doing, uh, just let us know.
yeah,
Because I believe that after next week, because we can meet one person from outside our household, that
pick
we should
me.
be able to, yeah, we should be able to get together and do something.
Yeah,
No idea what, so we need some suggestions from you guys.
yeah. Good idea. Well, I hope that was useful to you. I hope you found it interesting or whatever you got from that. But that's sometimes what we do in the background, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
that's a mixture of some of the things which we consider. But until next Wednesday, we will see you then.
see you later. Bye.